everybody? Welcome to Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch.
I'm Rob.
And today we're going to preview this Saturday's pay-per-view on DAZN, which features Saul Canelo Alvarez trying to jump 2 weight divisions from 160 to 175 to face Sergey the Krusher Kovalev. Now, this is for, you remember which belt Kovalev has?
I do not.
I don't either. I think it's the WBA.
Yes, because Bivol has the No, I thought Bivol had
Bivol has the WBA, Kovalev has the BO, and then Biev has the IBF and the WBC. We just worked that out.
And who has the IBF?
Biev. When he beat Bostic.
Okay. Well, as you can see, the belt situation is very confusing, but we know it is for a belt.
Yes. And like I said, I believe it is a WBO. Either way, we're going to break down the skills, how they match up. There's a lot of questions that we're going to pontificate about and bring it to you with a prediction. Start us off, Rob.
All right, so this is the epitome of a dare to be great moment by Canelo. He's jumping 2 weight classes to 175 to take off one of the most destructive individuals in that division. And if you've seen the division lately, there's a lot of destructive individuals there.
Yes, there is.
And we saw one, last week or the week before last in Biev?
Yep.
And then we're going to see Krusher Kovalev. Can he make that happen? We know that Canelo is naturally heavier than what he walks in at. Even at 160, we knew he was big for 154. He was definitely too big for 147. Yeah. Weight-wise, not really height-wise, and that's going to come into question. But he's facing a guy in Kovalev that's naturally bigger, longer reach, has about a 3 to 4 inch height advantage over him, and has destroyed several guys in his own division.
Right. And when you're talking about that height difference, you're looking pretty much like the difference between Rob and I right here. And when you're talking about range, that's going to be really hard to get by, considering that Canelo's been a small guy in mostly every weight class he's been in. Even when he fought Floyd Mayweather, who isn't a big guy, Mayweather was taller than him. So that is going to be a big factor coming into this fight. And with the jab that Kovalev possesses, this vaunted body attack that we keep hearing about is going to be really hard to accomplish, barring a few things. So, like Rob said, we've got a naturally bigger guy in Kovalev. Canelo probably walks around probably close to this weight anyway. Probably 175, 180, what I'm assuming.
Yes, but Kovalev, who's fighting at 175, probably walks around no less than 190, maybe even closer to 200, because he was considering going up to cruiserweight at one point.
Yes, that is correct. After the Andre Ward fights, that was something that they were considering. Now, he just fought Anthony Yarde at the end of September, right? It wasn't long ago that he fought Yarde. Yarde, who is a huge light heavyweight, put forth a lot of questions as well. And I think some of that is why Canelo feels that he can take advantage of this and this dare to be great situation. But the last person to do this was Bernard Hopkins. And that was, 13 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
And before that, I don't think it had been done. So there hasn't been anyone who's jumped from 160 to 175 and done so successfully. Now, we had Ray Leonard, who fought for a light heavyweight title, but they fought at like 168.
Right.
You had Roy Jones, who was a light heavyweight kingpin for several years, but he started at 160, moved to 68, then moved to 75. Canelo has had 2 fights above the 160 limit, one with Chavez, which was at like a 164 catch weight, and then he fought Rocky Fielding at 168. Kovalev ain't those guys.
At all.
Now, that's not to say that Canelo doesn't have a chance, and that's not to say that Canelo's going to run through Kovalev, because really, that's been the narrative that's been cast for this fight that it's just a walkthrough, and some people are calling this a cherry pick. That's cap. Anyway, there are several things that Sergey Kovalev can do to be very successful in this fight and possibly score a victory, maybe even a stoppage. We've seen Canelo. We've never really seen him very badly hurt. We may have seen a few punches look like they affected him more than others, but his defense is very good, which is a good thing for him in this fight, being that Kovalev is such a big puncher. So how can Canelo get in there and do what he does, which is work the body, be slick, counter punch, and be successful? So if Rob is Kovalev and he's going to get into his stance and I'm going to be Canelo, so right here is got to be where he needs to be. Kovalev, on the other hand, wants him to be about out here, so he can be on the end of that jab. And what Buddy McGirt is working on with him is, rather than him stepping in when he jabs, is staying out on the outside and moving with his jab. You see him working on that with Alvarez, with Anthony Yard, and it worked very well against both of those guys. Now Canelo, if he comes back, Canelo, like I said, wants to be about here. So what he usually does is he doesn't step in really fast. He kind of inches forward and he moves his body around. So as Kovalev throws his jab, he can come here, boom, boom, because Canelo throws in combinations and he throws in combinations very well. So he's going to have to either catch that jab, parry it off to the side, or slip in some direction so he can get around Kovalev's jab. Now, problem with that is, what hand comes after that left? The right hand. And we know Kovalev's right hand is very dangerous. Andre Ward found out the hard way. Several other people who didn't get up from it found out the hard way. Bernard Hopkins was one of those people that found out you just can't run in on Kovalev. But then at the same time, this is not the same Kovalev that Bernard Hopkins fought. So he is a tad bit smarter, but that confidence is not quite the same as it was when he was running through people 3-4 years ago. He's now, a little bit older, a little less sharp, and he is, he's had his confidence shaken with those losses to Ward and Alvarez. So you can kind of see sometimes when it gets a little tough, you can see it in his face where he's like, oh man, like this is, but he has shown so far to bite down on that mouthpiece and try to get through it. You got anything you want to add?
Now, this is where mentally we know he can be a little wary, especially going deep into fights. But in his last two fights, against Yard and against Alvarez, we saw two aspects of that. We've seen him bounce back against Alvarez, a guy who knocked him out very unexpectedly and very brutally, because I think he suffered 3 knockdowns in their first fight.
3 hard knockdowns.
Now, a lot of people are much more worried. They want to take another fight, or they want to do a blame this, that, and the other. But we know he's come back and fought Ward again, even though he got knocked out in the second loss. We know he's come back and fought Alvarez. So he's definitely determined to get some get back. And secondly, he went against Yard, who had him hurt in about the 6th round. 8th.
Yeah.
The middle rounds, Yard had him hurt, and he weathered the storm and watched Yard, quote unquote, blow his load.
Yeah.
And continue to take advantage of the fight, because through the majority of the fight, he was beating Yard to the punch every time. And Yard, one last gas, gave it all he got, but Kovalev again bit down on his mouthpiece, weathered the storm, and brought back his own firepower. Also, with Buddy McGirt, he's instilled into him a lot of new things, a lot of old school things that a lot of Eastern European fighters do not learn unless they get an American urban trainer. Now, speaking of that jab, I'm Kovalev. This is something that he did in the Alvarez fight. Someone who's a natural counterpuncher, but can be and will be explosive. Normally, he just threw that jab out there, try to measure it, and he throws a lot of good feints. So he can feint upstairs and jab to the body, but he likes to jab to the body, come upstairs, and use the right hand, which he can vary up now. It's not just straight. He can bring it around the guard. He can bring the body. And the good thing he did versus Ward is he got him at the end of his jab moving back. It came down. It hit him right in the stomach. What I like about this is he can jab into a high guard. Not to say that Canelo's going to throw a high guard, but he can get into the high guard. And instead of bringing it right back, he'll hold it, blinding his opponent, keeping one of those two fists at bay, and measuring what he wants to do with his right hand. He can throw it at his guard, let Canelo feel his power, make him hesitant. He can blind him, come under the elbow, or throw around the guard, which he did very well against Alvarez.
Yes. And so, using that, also remembering that he knocked Yard out with one of those jabs that we've talked about in previous videos. When Kovalev throws that right hand and he comes back with a jab more so than a hook, he's developed a very nice check hook, but it doesn't really do any damage. It's more so of a, hey, I can land this if you're slipping. But when he throws that right and he spring loads that hip and comes back with that jab, that becomes a very hard jab that comes off like a hook. So that punch could be the punch that gives Canelo the most trouble. Canelo being someone who moves around and moves his upper body very well. So if Rob is Kovalev again and Canelo slips and he sees that right hand coming, he tries to slip and catch again, boom, when he goes to counter, that third punch can catch him. And so that's when the extra weight will come into play. We've seen Canelo fade in a lot of his fights. Probably the best condition I've seen him was against Triple G the second time and Danny Jacobs. We didn't see that fade as much in those fights. In that first Triple G fight, it was very, very evident to where he took like 5 rounds off. And so with this extra weight and the way that he trains in very quick bursts. You see him working the bag. You see him working the pads. You see him shadow boxing. And he... he starts speaking Spanish. They're communicating. That's it. So he fights in very controlled bursts like he does when he trains. Now, Kovalev, who has shown the fade as well, can push that just a little bit more and show just a little more conditioning. We got a fight on our hands.
That's right.
And so that's one of those things. I think that, to me, that's the biggest thing that we're looking for. Because everyone's talking about Canelo's just going to go up there, walk through him with body shots, and make this a very easy fight just because Andre Ward did it. And they're not the same fighter.
No.
At all.
I mean, Andre Ward is a guy who is pretty fast for that division. Canelo's probably going to be faster than him, but he's a much bigger individual, taller, much more weight, and he's a much rougher fighter. So he can get in on the inside and push around. He made Kovalev work quite a bit just to get a guy like Ward off him. Canelo is not that fighter.
Right. Canelo is very slick. He likes to, like we said, counter punch. He can get on the inside, but he's not into that wrestling positioning type of fight. If that happens, I'm not sure who that's going to favor because Kovalev doesn't like that either. And we saw that in both the Ward fights. That is what Bernard Hopkins initially tried to do, but he was able to keep Bernard off of him. It didn't happen much versus Alvarez, but in the fight with Yard, that physicality came into play again, especially in those middle rounds when Yard started to really land some leather on him. So Canelo being a smaller guy, I don't know if he can use that strategy. Also, his footwork is not as fleet as an Andre Ward or a Yard. Like I said, he doesn't explode in and out and can close that distance within a punch or two like they could. So he likes to inch in and work his way in. If Kovalev is cognizant of that, he can stay on the outside and just move around And maybe Canelo gets a body shot in here or there, but it won't be that sustained attack that we saw from Ward or Yard in those middle rounds.
And the last thing that he's been doing, and I guess he's taking this from Mayweather or anyone, he's got to stay off the ropes. This isn't a guy that you want to be on the ropes against at all. Because one, he's not tall enough or fast enough just to get away. Another thing, Kovalev has been using a lot more looping shots lately, but he hasn't been using them to the, they haven't been ineffective. He's not going to throw those same looping shots that, say, Triple G threw in the first fight where they're just missing. Now, sure, he's going to throw a hook or he's going to throw a wide right that will probably be telegraphed every now and again. But it could just be a setup. Because remember, he got Andre Ward to bend to his right, and that set him up to get hit behind the ear with the right hand. Against the ropes, that's going to be even worse. So he has to stay off the ropes, move laterally, and he's got to take the body. He's got to take his legs away. And Kovalev, his legs haven't been quite the same. If you look at that second Alvarez fight, even though he won, a sharp jab from Alvarez pushed him back quite a bit. You know, as Canelo is powerful or as strong as Alvarez, highly doubtful. Same with Ward. He doesn't have the physicality for 175. Or it remains to be seen, but I doubt it.
Right. Now, with that being said, you know, the last thing I wanted to mention was, you know, people saying how easy this was going to be, like, knockout-wise. Something we discussed earlier was that, you know, who at the elite level has Canelo hurt or stopped for people to have this notion that he's just going to run through Kovalev?
Exactly.
I mean, give me a guy that he hurt to the body at 160. Not a soul. He beat the brakes off of Cotto, who started out at 140, never seriously hurt him. Shane Mosley. I mean, he's a guy who has a very strong, like, punch resistance. So, and that was at, I think, at 54, right? Or was that at 60 as well? I don't remember. Either way, he beat him very handily as well.
Could have been 155 knowing Canelo.
Yeah, but Triple G, same thing. I mean, Triple G is a very durable guy, and so is Danny Jacobs, who is a huge middleweight. But now he's jumping up 2 divisions to fight a big light heavyweight. Where is this vaunted power coming from that people are seeing? I mean, yes, he knocked out Rocky Fielding. It's Rocky Fielding. He's not
elite at all.
Right. He wasn't even in the picture at 168, which is actually a pretty good division as well. But that's neither here nor there. So that is that last question. Like, but that's not to say he can't do it. And that's what we're going to find out. Because while he doesn't have this really strong concussive power, like I said, he punches in great combinations, and his punches are fast and sharp. So that can make up for the power if he can get past that jab and land those body punches consistently. He may do it. He may do it. But it remains to be seen until fight night. So let's go into a pick. Who you got?
This is a hard one.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I know most people are going with Canelo. I think from what I've seen, I may have seen maybe 2 people pick Kovalev. Most people are going with Canelo. I personally don't think he's going to stop him.
He's not going to stop him. And I'm thinking, what has carried Canelo the whole way through the last few years? Especially in decisions. Those very eye-popping, sound-bursting shots. So when he lands, you're going to see it and you're going to notice.
Right.
But again, this is another fighter who, when he lands, you're going to notice.
Yes. So, like we said, those 2 fights with Ward, the ones that people are really bringing up being his Achilles heel, he was in those fights every step of the way, and for the first fight, arguably won. So, and then in the second fight, he was on the cards. But Canelo, can lose 12 rounds, well, maybe 10 rounds against Floyd Mayweather and still win 6 on somebody's scorecard.
Exactly.
So I haven't rewatched that fight in a few years, but maybe like a year or two. But still, Canelo is a very judge-friendly fighter. So I'm thinking it goes to the cards, and I think he takes it that way.
Another controversial decision.
8-4, 9-3 type of fight to where people like, what? Like, are y'all kidding me? But that's what it's going to look like. I think it's going to be a 8-4, 9-3 decision. That's much closer than that, but that's what we're going to see.
So
Unless Canelo fades really bad and Sergey stops him.
History is telling me Canelo. But I know when fighters jump up 2 weight divisions, it depends on the competition. Remember, Roy Jones jumped up 2 weight divisions, but he took on John Ruiz.
Yeah.
We know Khan has jumped up 2 weight divisions, but he took on Canelo.
Yeah.
We know Kell Brook jumped up 2 weight divisions, but he took on Triple G.
Right. So it is, and then Manny Pacquiao jumped up 2 divisions and took on Oscar De La Hoya, who hadn't fought at 147 himself. So he came down divisions when Manny went up.
And see, Kovalev is coming down.
Right. So this is one of those ones, like, you really just got to see. I know everyone's picking Canelo. I just picked Canelo. But him being stopped is not out of the question.
I'm looking at, I'm going with Canelo by decision, majority decision.
Okay.
I can also see it being either a split decision or a split draw. But it's going to be close and it's going to be controversial because every time Kovalev lands, and whether it's blocked, you're going to see Canelo
react
badly like, I know you did not just punch me.
Yeah. So that slipping and rolling is going to be really important here, which a lot of times judges don't notice, but they notice with Canelo. But because he returns with such emphatic punches, it makes it look like he is not being phased. And I think that's something he learned in the Mayweather fight because Mayweather did that to him a lot.
Think about Margarito Pacquiao. That's what's coming to mind. Because remember, Pacquiao won, but it wasn't as bad as you think. Because when Margarito landed,
yeah,
it did some damage to the point where they said he was in bed and peeing blood for like a week.
Yeah. So that's what we think, guys. Let us know what you think. What tactics is going to lead Canelo to the victory? What tactics are going to lead Sergey Kovalev to the victory? Let us know in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Google Plus is no longer a thing. Found that out like a month or so ago.
I did not know that.
But you can hit us up on Gmail as well. If you have any questions, go into the Combat Mailbag. And we will see you all in the recap video where we talk about what actually happened compared to what we thought was going to happen. And then talk about where the fighters go from there. So subscribe so you can catch that. And also I'll be dropping a UFC 244 video probably maybe even before this one comes out. Either way, you'll have 2 big fights this weekend that you can indulge and enjoy the combat sports. So we will see you all in the next video. Till then, fight on.
This is round 1 and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming at cost. My fists are on fire, I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage, keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane, I told them I don't play, I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.